many different variations of this theory existed, the Nazi Party proclaimed that Germany was betrayed by those on the home front, which led to the loss of the war, rather than their defeat on the battlefield. Shifting the blame to what they referred to as the November criminals, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party bought into the myth that Jews and communists had betrayed the country and brought a left-wing government to power that had wanted to throw in the towel. Providing the country with a scapegoat meant more and more individuals supported the Nazi Party. They had established the enemy and had a full plan of how they're going to remove them and make Germany great again.
Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Eventually, in January 33, he becomes Chancellor. Now, don't forget, Chancellor in Germany, and this still remains today, is not, at the time, the head of state. The head of state is the president. So it's the Chancellor, though, who has the real executive power. In order to take as much power as he can, he's also going to have to make himself head of state. And that really becomes an opportunity for him when Hindenburg dies, and he's able to take on the role of both president and chancellor and kind of create this new role for himself, and that is the role of Führer, the German word for leader. That is a fascist term, be in no doubt. This is a kind of new form of governance that Germany now has. Other parties are banned. The only party allowed is the Nazi Party. This has become a totalitarian state, and Hitler can say to the German people, you voted for it. It's a con, and it's a con that worked.
By the way, isn't that breeze nice? Do you feel the breeze? Because I don't want anybody going on me, we need every voter. I don't care about you, I just want your vote. I don't care. See, now the press will take that and they'll say, he said a horrible thing.
That is a fascist term, be in no doubt. This is a kind of new form of governance that Germany now has. Other parties are banned. The only party allowed is the Nazi Party.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
How are you going to guard against the bureaucrats undermining you?
Well, they're going to undermine. Well, I always say, so we have two enemies. We have the outside enemy, and then we have the enemy from within. And the enemy from within, in my opinion, is more dangerous than China, Russia, and all these countries, because if you have a smart president, he can handle them pretty easily. I got along great with all. I handled them.
In Richmond, Virginia, the 5,000-man march is underway. It is the 19th day of nationwide protests against systemic racism in the wake of George Floyd's death in police custody. MSNBC's Amanda Golden is in Richmond. Amanda, what are protesters telling you about why they're marching today?
Hey, Alicia, so as you can see behind me, the march that kicked off about an hour ago, the 5,000-man march here in Richmond, has made its way back to in front of the Robert E. Lee statue here. That's where they kicked things off as well. And the protesters that I've spoken with, those that are marching today, are echoing the calls of Black Lives Matter with these continued demonstrations and discussions that we've been seeing throughout the last couple of weeks. I spoke with the main organizer of today's demonstration, who actually has been running this for the last 4 years. It is an annual march, but it's gained newer significance and meaning in the wake of all of this police brutality and continued conversations. And in speaking specifically about why they both started and ended the march here in front of the Robert E. Lee Monument.
We begin with breaking news from Charlottesville, Virginia, where 2 people have been injured in an altercation with protesters who are out in force over the planned removal of a Confederate statue. Watch this. Well, this ugly scene unfolded just moments ago. From what we understand, clergy members have just arrived at Emancipation Park. That's the site of that protest today, leading groups in prayer. Meantime, militiamen armed with guns also began arriving a short while ago, and you see the result. Police are expecting thousands of people to show up for this demonstration today. The actual event was supposed to start an hour from now, but obviously the tensions in the crowd boiled over. All of this following violent clashes breaking out at a white nationalist march last night at the University of Virginia.
Started this. They showed up in Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me. They didn't put themselves down as you. And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group. Excuse me. I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
Robert E. Lee are not the same.
Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now, we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And
you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
John Kelly told the New York Times former President Trump is, quote, certainly an authoritarian who, again quoting, falls into the general definition of a fascist. We should point out these are not terms casually thrown about in American political dialogue, certainly not this close to a presidential election.
Former President Donald Trump's ex-chief of staff, John Kelly, is speaking out to the New York Times with his strongest words yet against the former president, warning he would govern like a dictator. Kelly was asked whether he believes Trump is a fascist.
He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Look, I'm really worried about our democracy.
We have to win this election, most important election ever. We want a landslide that's too big to rig. If you want to save America, get your friends, get your family, get everyone you know, and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Here's what he said. He said, oh, I need you so much. We can make America great again if you just vote one more time. But if you vote one more time this time, by the time the next election rolls around, I'll have it rigged and you will never have to vote again.
And for her thoughts after Trump's former chief of staff said he fits the definition of fascist.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Is former President Donald Trump America's Hitler? That's what his current vice presidential running mate questioned in 2016. Here's the text Senator Josh McLaurin says is from J.D. Vance, which reads, quote, I go back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical expletive like Nixon, who wouldn't be that bad and might even prove useful, or that he's America's Hitler. That text from the now vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance sent to his law school roommate Josh McLaurin, who called the Vance then to the Vance now arguably the biggest flip-flop in American politics.
Ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt.
I suggest to you that I personally will not be voting for Donald Trump because of 3 reasons. I think his creation of, or his destruction of Roe v. Wade and the protections for abortion, the immigration reform bill that he did not embrace. Rather, he has chosen to become an absolute racist when it comes to speaking of particularly Latin undocumented immigrants, comparing them basically to animals. It's horrifying. I don't know how any Latino person of any self-esteem, any self-respect would be in favor. I am not voting for Donald Trump because I do not believe that he can be trusted to honor the Constitution of the United States. I am not voting for Donald Trump principally, aside from abortion and immigration rights. I am not voting for Donald Trump because he proved that he put himself and his own personal future ahead of the future of the country and the Constitution of the United States. That was the words from his own Vice President Mike Pence. And what he did on January 6th and so forth deserved impeachment.
A 3-hour video just released by the Justice Department after CNN and other outlets sued for access shows one of the most violent and prolonged battles between Capitol Police and the pro-Trump mob. The video, taken from a Capitol security camera on the Lower West Terrace, does not have sound, but it shows how dozens of rioters moved in on Capitol Police, spraying the cops who stood guard with pepper spray, pointing strobing flashlights at them, striking them with batons and flagpoles. More than an hour in, when police push back, you can see a helmet knocked off of one officer's head.
We're going to give riot warning. We're going to try and get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
5 to 50 be advised, Capitol Police 1 advised they're trying to breach and get into the Capitol.
We have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol! We need to hold the doors of the Capitol. I need court support. We lost the line. We lost the line. All MPDs get back! All MPDs get back up to the upper deck! All MPDs get back to the upper deck!
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable, and I mentioned the word love, the love in the air. I've never seen anything like
it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. They're all now in the United States, and they're now taking over cities. It's like an invasion from within. And we're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country. And we're going to start with Springfield and Aurora. to expedite removal of the Tren de Aragua and other savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you imagine? Those were the old days when they had tough politicians. I have to go back that long. Think of that, 1798. Oh, it's a powerful act. You couldn't pass something like that today. Today we're politically correct. Today people kill and they end up getting out on bail in 2 minutes. No, this is a little different act. The Aliens Enemy Act, 1798, to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. 100%.
Elspeth's story begins in 1933. The Nazis had swept to power. Their stormtroopers were now protected by the government, and one of their favorite excesses, the persecution of Germany's Jews, was now government policy. There were arrests, beatings. Stormtroopers urged people not to shop in Jewish stores.
Seems so long ago. We're a dumping ground. We're like a garbage can for the world. That's what's happened. That's what's happened to. We're like a garbage can.
I also do want to address the comment that Donald Trump made about America being the trash can of the world, whatever he said, something along those lines. You know, it's just another example of how he really belittles our country. This is someone who is a former president of the United States, who has a bully pulpit. And this is how he uses it, to tell the rest of the world that somehow the United States of America is trash. And I think, again, the President of the United States should be someone who elevates discourse and talks about the best of who we are and invests in the best of who we are. Not someone like Donald Trump who's constantly demeaning and belittling who the American people are. America deserves better.
More than 200 former Republican presidential and campaign staffers have thrown their support behind Kamala Harris.
In a letter published yesterday, people who worked in both of the Bush administrations, along with staffers for Senator Mitt Romney and the late Senator John McCain, declared their endorsement of Harris. The letter comes after several Republicans who are openly critical of former President Trump delivered remarks at the Democratic National Convention. Among those who signed on to the letter are McCain's former chief of staff, Mark Salter, and Olivia Troy, a former aide to Vice President Mike Pence. The wave of endorsements is in addition to more than 24 Republican former governors, members of Congress, and Trump administration officials who pledged support for the Harris campaign this month.
We are confronting a domestic threat that we have never faced before. And that is a former president who is attempting to unravel the foundations of our constitutional republic. And he is aided by Republican leaders and elected officials who made themselves willing hostages to this dangerous and irrational man.
Retired General was also asked about previous reports that Trump complimented Hitler.
He commented more than once that, that Hitler did some good things too. First of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist, life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason.
Kelly also responded to the former president's recent comments about using the military against domestic opponents.
But we have some sick people, radical left lunatics, and I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
Kelly said Trump was repeatedly told by advisors not to use the military on Americans.
Originally, the conversation would be, Mr. President, that's outside your authority, or, that's that's a routine use. You really don't want to do that inside the United States. But now that he's talking about it as "I'm going to do it," it's disturbing.
Im Dienste meines Volkes, gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired 4-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want?